We want to shake this nation. We don't want to be the only ones. We want to be the best, and we want to make sure that others stand up for your rights.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
We have on the line now somebody from the Tennessee Drivers Union, I believe. Would you care to introduce yourself and the role that you have in the union?
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Monique McLean, and I'm with the Tennessee Driver Union, and I'm one of the leaders in the union and also as well as a volunteer for the union.
And you are or were an Uber or Lyft driver, is that correct?
Yes, I'm currently a rideshare driver at this time for a couple different apps, but primarily Uber.
Gotcha. And so, the Uberification of, the whole economy has been something that we've been kind of tracking here at the Valley Labor Report for some time. It poses a lot of problems, obviously, for workers. Uber does not have to pay the same kinds of, or they don't have the same kind of liabilities with drivers because they're able to call drivers independent contractors, even though, everything about your work has to go through Uber. And so typically that relationship would be described as an employer-employee relationship. But there have been some efforts, including with the Tennessee Drivers Union, to try to organize rideshare drivers. And so before we talk about the Nashville incident with the airport, which is primarily why we wanted to have you on, can you explain to us the genesis of the Nashville Drivers Union or the Tennessee Drivers Union, and why it's important for rideshare drivers to organize and how y'all are doing it in Nashville?
So thank you. The reason why we all got together, this was a group that came together because we were absolutely disgusted with the way that we were being treated as drivers. And as well as, like you mentioned before, we're always being misclassified as workers, as independent contractors, when in reality, we don't have any control over how we work, what we'll accept, what we won't accept. It's pretty much all dictated by Uber and by Lyft. And so a lot of us were just fed up. And I initially found the group in some previous efforts that they had, and it fired me up because it let me know that I was not alone and that I was not the only one who felt like I was being treated like, just simple as it is, crap. I was being treated like crap. And if I wanted to work in a flexible environment, I should have some type of peace of mind. But I was actually put in a situation where I was back into a working environment just by doing these ride shares. And with so many drivers experiencing hard times, this is sometimes for some people an additional income because the cost of living has just inflated. So a lot of people are taking this as an option because they feel, well, I can do it on my own time, but they're later finding out that you're still being controlled by an unregulated organization that just makes millions off of you. You're just a number to these individuals.
Right. Absolutely. And so, one of the difficulties that I would imagine that you have in trying to organize rideshare drivers is that, unlike in most companies where you go in and you work in the same place and you get to see people, y'all are all kind of dispersed and there's no Uber building to kind of clock into and get your car. You all, you presumably start your shift basically from your driveway, and then you go and drive into the city or you're in the city already and you start picking up people. And so how do you even do that first step of just talking to people who work for the same company that you do?
So the first thing is that we have to be very clear with anyone who is interested in joining the union here, especially here in Tennessee, is that Uber does not like and Lyft does not like organizing. That is why they put tricky wording into the terms of agreement when you sign up. It's so long that the average person won't even have the wherewithal or want to read all of that. And then they add small verbiage in there, such as arbitration agreements. And as you're aware, or you're not, arbitration agreements basically says you can't sue me. And that speaks a lot, that you work for a place that says I can do what I want to you, but you can't sue me in no means. And so they find little workarounds such as lobbying in each state, trying to, use their power and their money and their leverage to go in these states and say, we don't need you to look over what we're doing, but if you want to build the tourism in your state, how about you let us come to your state? And of course, any state that is probably not bringing in a lot of revenue will see this as a money-making opportunity, and they'll take advantage of it. Not knowing the gist of how the drivers are treated, setting up places for drivers to work and be efficient and be safe. They just look at it as it's bringing in money. And this is the biggest seller for these ride shares. They promise money. That's the biggest thing that they can stand on, is that they can promise you more tourism, getting your workers back and forth to work, things like that. And it also kind of alleviates the obligation too of public transportation, because now they don't have to just focus on buses. This is something that they don't have to be responsible for. And that's the selling point of a lot of these ride shares is we will do the background checks. We will then go in and let these people pick your people up so you don't have to worry about anything. We've got that.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Absolutely. And so, we got you here to talk about the retaliation that y'all are facing from the Nashville airport. And it stems from an action that y'all held on Valentine's Day, if I remember right. Can you explain to us what the Tennessee Drivers Union did on Valentine's Day last month and why it upset the Nashville airport so much?
Absolutely. So we participated in a nationwide driver strike throughout all rideshare platforms because drivers were all on the same page that we are not being paid fairly, and we're not being treated fairly, and we're being treated like employees without the benefit. So when we participated in this particular peaceful protest this particular day, we went to the airport, and it was very peaceful. No one was yelling. No one was putting anyone in danger or stopping the traffic. We went there with the intentions to just use our First Amendment, and that was free speech. And when we were there, we were met with the Nashville Airport Authority, and they caused such a scene that people saw police. They saw drivers being stopped and harassed. And these drivers were there and weren't even working. We were here just going to ride through and come on out. They told us no, they didn't want that. They wanted a little bit more information. They started taking photos of each of the drivers' cars, their tags. Pretty much at that point, we knew something was about to happen, because why would they take photos of these drivers' cars? Because in the past, we have protested there and had no problems whatsoever, no issues. But this particular day was a lot different. On this day, a lot of the drivers, like I said, were coming through. They were coming through pretty quiet, just doing what they do, had signs out just to show that Uber is basically mistreating the employees. And while we were there, they were also instructed not to turn their apps on, because you're not to be working. You're not to be doing this and working. So after the rideshare caravan that day, each of the 34 drivers who participated received messages from Uber. Uber's message stated that you are being banned permanently because you picked up riders in the arrivals, which was false. So they gave us a false reason as to why. There were also individuals who were passengers. How they got that information is simply because of the tracking. They were banned as well. They didn't even drive a vehicle. So we had some people, exactly. So that was another thing. It's like they use this as a form of retaliation against drivers because one, it's the first of its kind, and they felt like this was going to send a message to other drivers to get them in line. And a lot of times that's a way to threaten them and make them feel like if we ban them, look what can happen to you. So do what we say.
Mm.
And
And
they
so
pretty
the
much didn't have a choice.
and so the ban was like these 34 drivers have been banned from driving for Uber ever and at any location. Is that right, or is it
No,
just from
so
the airport?
they were simply banned from the Nashville airport only. And
Okay.
the reason why it's very important is because the Nashville airport is a bulk of the income.
Right.
Throughout the city, it's not, but the airport is a bulk of the income. And it's funny that they got banned because this same airport made $2.4 million off of these drivers. $2.4 million. And they were able to give their CEO a $20,000 raise, a $200,000 raise. Now he's making $600,000. And
Mm.
all we're asking for is bathrooms. We're asking for spaces. And we can't even get that.
Wow. And so the and that is crazy that they're doing that, especially since, as you're saying, it was a peaceful protest. You didn't even stop people from, you didn't even prevent egress and ingress. I mean, and that's the kind of the typical thing where you see kind of injunctions against employees or strikers for picketing is when you start blocking the entrance to a place. And so y'all weren't even doing anything like that. Y'all were just utilizing your free speech, being there, protesting, letting people know, letting riders know what's going on. And Uber has banned you from being able to pick up people from the Nashville airport. So y'all are, and so what are the next steps for the Tennessee Drivers Union?
So, since we are very aware that the banning was not a mistake and it was intentional retaliation, because we have a bill with the state right now for consideration, we knew that any way that they can intimidate the members and find a way to attack them because of this bill, we were prepared. That's why each person that joined this understood there could be some consequences because we've been targeted in many ways, such as low rides, very low paying rides. And our next step is one, we want to get this bill passed, and we want to continue to work with the city to find some type of way of coming to a compromise for the drivers, especially with pickups and drop offs, as well as with the Nashville airport. And we've been working with them, not working with them, but trying to meet with them so that we can have a conversation about this type of situation, about getting the drivers unbanned. And we've got forms that individuals can fill out to also show their support. So we have many other steps, but these are the first most important right now is getting the drivers unbanned, because we've seen so many that have lost income that is dramatic.
Right. And so how can folks support, if there's a listener out there that wants to support the Tennessee Drivers Union, what can they do? And if I am a driver in Tennessee, how can I get linked up with you?
Absolutely. So the Tennessee Driver Union has many, they have two separate social media outlets. One being TikTok, it's very famous. And then we have another one on Instagram. And in our Instagram bio, we have a form that drivers as well as companies, individuals can go in that bio, and there's a link to sign support. And it is free. These things are not where you have to pay for them. We're just asking for your support so that we could take this to wherever we get to the House, and wherever we need the support to say we've got people backing us. So, like I said, the first one is signing up for our TikTok. It's the TN Drivers Union, TNDRIVERSUNION. And on the Instagram page, same name, there is a link in the bio where you can fill out that form. You can also see who else has signed in support with that. And another step that they can also do is call the Nashville Airport Authority to have these drivers unbanned.
And how would the Nashville Airport Authority be able to do that? I guess like because the Nashville Airport Authority like has to let Uber be there and pick people up, and so the Nashville Airport Authority could theoretically say to Uber, if you don't unban these drivers, you can't operate at our airport. Is that kind of the mechanisms by which the airport authority has leverage?
Yes, and Uber has passed the buck on to the airport, taking little responsibility in their part that they played in the banning. They've pushed us all over to the Nashville Airport Authority and says, well, it's up to them. But then we couldn't understand because they're telling us that Uber has this authority. So who's telling the truth here? Like, who's telling the truth?
And so, wow, that's crazy. So, what do you think then? Does the Nashville Airport Authority need to like make a public statement saying like, we want these people to be unbanned? We didn't ask for them to be banned. Is that kind of what you're asking for?
Yes, we're absolutely asking for that, as well as they had the ability to have us banned, and they also have the ability to have us unbanned. Because when they turn in your tag number and or your name or driver's license, pretty much Uber says, well, we'll do whatever you say because we're at your mercy.
Right. All right. Tennessee Drivers Union, really appreciate you for taking the time to talk to us today. It's been good.
Thank you so much for having us, honey. Please let our story get out there because we want to shake this nation. We don't want to be the only ones. We want to be the best, and we want to make sure that others stand up for your rights.
Absolutely. There you go. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Thanks for the time. We've been talking to a member and a driver for Uber with the Tennessee Drivers Union. You can check them out at all the places that she mentioned, TikTok and Instagram in particular. I believe they also have a Twitter. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.